a minute.
Okay.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the local district service, Sheaves Cove, and thank the people of Sheaves Cove for lending us this facility. Thank you very much. If you notice the itinerary, I'm not the mediator, I'm the moderator. This is good, okay? So, and just a couple of changes. What my job is very simple. It's just to keep the flow going, so everybody gets a chance to speak, etc., etc. So, any quick questions before we start? Good. So our first person, lady, Marilyn. She'll do the introduction. Marilyn, it's all yours.
Thank you. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Marilyn Rowe, and I am chair of the local service district of Sheaves Cove. And on behalf of our Environmental Transparency Committee members, I would like to welcome each and every one of you to the first public meeting on the proposed wind turbine project for the Port au Port Peninsula. Before we begin, I would like each committee member to stand up and introduce themselves and say what area they are representing.
So my name is Daryl Shelley. I'm with a new political movement in the province called NL United. And I'm from Stephenville, born and raised in Stephenville. There are actually 24 members on the committee. Not all of them are here tonight. And if anybody is interested in more information, there's an email sheet in the back, or you can take one of these pamphlets and email us, and we'll keep you informed as to what we're doing. We're volunteer-based, non-partisan, non-elected, and we just want to get some truth to the bottom of the matter of what's really going on here.
And I'm Nadine Telek from Cape St. George. I served the community as a paramedic for many years, and I am part of this committee, and we're here to give out information, as Daryl said, for concerned people that are not getting the information through our towns. So we welcome you here tonight, and hopefully this information session will be this benefit to everyone here. Thank you for showing us.
Hello, my name is Deborah Simmons. I live in the Cape St. George. I'm a fairly new resident there, and I'm directly affected by one of the turbines that are in close to the village of Cape St. George. And I welcome the opportunity to work with this great team here to try and get information out about the proposed project. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Shelley Jesso. I'm a concerned citizen, and I'm also the vice chair of the local service district of Sheaves Cove. Welcome, everybody.
Charisse?
Cherise Benoit. I represent the community of Mainland, chairperson of the local service district of Mainland, and treasurer of the Mainland Heritage Committee. The communities of Mainland and Turbine Cove are very concerned about the wind turbines, especially the 20 turbines that are being placed within 1 kilometer of Mainland and Turbine Cove.
Thank you. Right?
Hi, I'm Rain Miller. I'm a resident of Cape St. George, and I'm also a concerned citizen and would like to know more information about the wind turbines in our area. Thanks for coming.
Aiden?
I'm good.
You're good?
We know that, but are you okay?
Anybody else?
Martin Chesson. I'm a resident of Cape St. George. Lived in St. John's for 30 years. Looking to retire back here, and looking at this project, and like to know what's happening and how it's going to affect all of our communities.
My name is Keisha Oliver, resident of Lords, and I'm a concerned citizen, so I decided to become a part of the committee to hopefully get more information out to everyone.
Thank you.
Welcome. Hi, I am Tiffany Young, and I am also part of the committee, and I am a resident and a mother of a child who I love growing up around here and raising her in this beautiful backcountry everywhere. And I am also here tonight to get answers and to get everybody informed. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, everybody. Here is a brief summary of how...
Dwight.
Oh, Dwight, where are you? Come on, Dwight, don't be shy.
Dwight Gordon, I'm a member of the what's it called, ETA?
ETC.
ETC. elected member on the board of ARPO. And I'm here to have my say.
Anybody else on our committee? Going once? Going twice?
You're not here.
Gone.
Like I said, there are 24 of us, just so you guys have a rough number.
Yeah. So to continue on, here is a brief summary of how the local service district of Sheaves Cove heard about this massive proposal. On July 8, 2022, we received a letter from Environmental Assessment Division dated June 23, 2022. And it said there is a proposed undertaking for Port-to-Port Stephenville Wind Power Hydrogen Generation Project called Project New Gihonic, GH2. And they went on to say that if we had any questions or concerns, to submit them in writing to the minister on or before July 26, 2022. That gave us 18 days. We came to find out later that World Energy GH2 had already met as early as March with Halapu and the mayors of towns on the peninsula. Those meetings were held in Stephenville, and we were not even aware that this project existed. But the planning stages had already begun. Chief Mitchell and other mayors gave their letters of support to the project in May, without any type of consultation with their residents or band members. Some towns later withdrew their letters of support once they realized the scope of this project and the environmental impacts it could have on our area. I'm going to read you my letter to the minister. It is very short. The local service district of Sheaves Cove and the residents of our community are not in favor of the wind turbine project proposed by World Energy GH2 for the Port-to-Port Peninsula. Frankly, we were shocked to receive the proposal in the mail on July 8, 2022, and the deadline for submissions to you was today. Your timeline did not give the people on the peninsula enough time to do research into how this massive undertaking will affect our pristine forests and mountains. Needless to say, the past 2 weeks have been incredibly difficult for all concerned. People in our community are very worried about the environmental impact this will have on our lives, especially as it pertains to our health, watersheds, wood to heat our homes, animals for hunting for food, and the protection of our rare plants and birds. In your press statement today, you said communities had 35 days to respond. That is a false statement. As I mentioned above, we had since July 8th. That is 18 days. This whole process has been unfair to many communities on the peninsula who were not privy to the consultations that the towns were. Our local service district will never support this kind of destruction to so much precious forest and land located so closely to our dwellings. And you will learn in the coming months that majority of residents of the Port-to-Port Peninsula feel exactly the way we do. I hope you stop and ponder what the area will look like with 164 large industrial wind turbines with an unknown number having lights on the top. It will look awful and will deter our tourists from coming to our area. How can the provincial government say they are for green energy while entertaining the idea of destroying the green forests of our area? What about the highly explosive hydrogen plant destined for Stephenville? Are the residents in that area aware of the looming threat this project could possibly bring? We are certainly not against economic growth and green energy, but it has to be done in an area where it will have little or no effects to anyone around. Newfoundland and Labrador has enough land to do this properly. This application should never have seen the light of day. It just doesn't make sense. No amount of money in this world can convince me and other residents otherwise. Sincerely, Marilyn Rowe. Thank you. The problem we have with this project is the sheer lightning speed at which it is moving. We had 18 days to process this information, all while being photographed by planes and helicopters flying over our houses and mountain areas. These are all huge red flags. There are too many unanswered questions, and therefore the people on the Port-au-Port Peninsula have to stand up and say, no, we will not be your lab rats in this experimental project. Thank you.
Thank you, Marilyn. That's excellent. Next up is Nadine and Ray.
Thanks, Marilyn, that was great. You're a lot taller than me. I don't have a lot to say, just that we started a petition about possibly moving these windmills off the peninsula, or at least getting a full environmental assessment. We have 680 signatures that we've gathered over the last 2 weeks. This has all been sent in to pretty much every minister involved in the province, as well as Goody Hutchings. There is a petition down at the back table. If you did not get a chance and you wanted to sign a petition, there's papers down at the back. You're more than welcome to add your name, and we'll submit that along to the government as well. And Nadine is next. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. When we started this petition, we were meeting with the towns at the time, and we were under the impression that everyone felt the same. The project was going too fast, or the letters of support was a concern. And the letters of support, then when we found out that our town, I was devastated, because we never even known that there was a letter of support sent in for this project because of the timing. So when the project was coming, like you said, the date and the time frame, I was gladly to go around and start the petitions, because I felt as a member of the town, and just knowing that the amount of time that we had, people of the town didn't have no idea of what was going on. So as I was going around with the petitions, the people were asking questions, and the questions I just only can give was, there is a project coming, there is a website you can go on, and they wanted to know why the town, why not the town contact the residents, why not the town come and let us know. They found out over the NTV News, or they found out over a radio, and a lot of these people don't have the internet or Facebook, and that's how we found out. So when I went going around with the petitions, there was a lot of concerns from the people, because they didn't have the information. And this is why the committee is here tonight, to try to give the residents the information. And sadly, that a committee had to be formed in order to get the residents the information that they were required to even find out about the project. And there's still more answers, and we still need more time to get more answers. So, having said that, I went online and I did also a .org petition. We had a lot of residents away that were from home and that would like to reside back here when they retire. And there was a lot of residents in the area that weren't aware of the petitions at the start of the time, and they did sign on. So I did send 285 of those also into the Minister Davis on the deadline. I also wrote to our Chief Mitchell. I'm Indian status member, and a lot of our Indian status members were concerned, and we were concerned about your letter of support. I have 125 names that are here with me tonight, and there's still a lot more that are still asking questions. We need answers from our chiefs. This is our land. This is Mother Nature. We nurture it and we care for it. And to have a project to come in and to have a greener energy while destroying the environment, where is the balance? We have to find a balance in the economic future for greener, or do we destroy the environment trying to do so? So this is what I feel tonight, that we still need more answers, and we really have to get this answers for the residents, and to also slow down the process so we can find out more information. Thank you.
Thank you, Nadia. Great. Next up, Daryl, a few words.
Oh, gotta go, that's for me. Thank you guys for coming. And I just wanted to make something really clear to, what's the total number that we got of signatures? Total number. It's over 700 the last time I checked.
700
No, I
plus
had 680.
680 plus
Plus
the
the two,
two,
plus your...
it's almost 3, so say almost 1,000.
Almost 1,000 people individually ink hand signed in the area, and another 200 online.
No, that's
No?
Including...
Including online, so 700 and almost 700 by hand and another 200 something online.
Yes.
It's not a small number, that's more than 10% of the population out here. And we did that in a week and a half. So I just wanted to make it clear that, you know, we hadn't been to every single home. We haven't heard from every single person. We're scrambling, most of us have just met for the first time, some of us have known each other, but, you know, it's a valiant effort, it's a lot of work. This is not a fringe minority. This isn't a conspiracy theory or a few people. This is a large group of people from all communities together. So something I wanted to mention to Chief Mitchell, because I did see that in your CBC interview you mentioned you had received 6 emails. There's a lot more than 6 people that are concerned, and I'm hoping tonight that we can get that through, and that hopefully we can open up that discussion so that we can start to please and satisfy the people in the communities, instead of just coming in here and telling people this is what's going to happen. Because that's not what's going to happen. What's going to happen is we're going to have a discussion and agree on what's best for everybody. Same thing with Benoit. He said that there were no problems and no complaints. That's absolutely false. That's absolutely not true. He said that there was no negative feedback and that it was fueled by conspiracy theories and old information. This is a typical ad hominem liberal attack style of going after the person to insult their intelligence instead of going after the subject matter. The same way that they shamed people who supported the truckers in Ottawa and the trucker convoy, which I fully supported. They weren't a conspiracy theory. They were people who wanted to make their voices be heard. And they should have been heard properly. And we want to be heard properly as well. And the media is largely complacent. They're complacent now. There's nobody here from the media. We've invited several of them. We've reached out to them. We did get one reporter to report it in Saltwire, thanks to Nadine. Some hard work was put into that. And it's not a simple windmill project. This is a government green worldwide initiative to try to get green energy into people's communities. And we're not against green energy. We're not against trying to find ways to stop global warming. That's not the issue here. The issue is, why does it have to be in our backyards? Why does it have to be so fast and sidetracked without a proper environmental assessment that should take at least a year or two? What's the hurry? Is the hurry so we can save Germany, so we can send energy over there for a war that really we're not directly involved with because they can't get their oil from Russia? We got lots of oil in Newfoundland. We got over 60 billion barrels on tap, according to Nalcor. So how come we're not out there getting that stuff? How come we're not using our oil energy? We contribute 1.5% of the greenhouse emissions in Canada. We got a lot of room here that we can use, fossil fuels that already exist, the jobs that are already there, and actually save that country if they have an energy shortage, instead of trying to turn around windmills here on a dime. This is not a quick project. 2 years people are going to spend in college, and 2 years doing an apprenticeship for jobs here. How long until the first gigawatt? Where's Russia and Ukraine going to be in 3 years, 4 years from now? I don't know, but this windmill project's not going to stop the war. It's not going to save anybody. It's going to give Trudeau a pat on the back. And I don't think that it's worth the expense. You know, the juice isn't worth the squeeze here, from what I can see. I don't know why we're not looking at other alternative areas and other areas around here that could be better suited. I mean, what we were saying, Tom, is you were saying this could be one of the largest projects in the world of this size, right? Top 10.
No, it's the largest private corporate investment in the history of Atlantic Canada.
The largest private corporate investment in the history of Atlantic Canada. That's great. We want that. We want jobs. We want investment here. Well, why does it have to be so fast? Why does it have to happen immediately? And as you guys haven't looked around, I mean, these are going to be 600 feet, right? This is like skyscrapers. We have more skyscrapers here than they got in Toronto. And yeah, there's a lot of people that are going, okay, well, you know, it won't affect your health and this and that. Well, that's not the angle I'm taking of, because that's science that's somewhat been proven, somewhat hasn't been proven. But we know one thing, it's going to lower the value of your homes here. Okay, no one wants to live next to 500 lawnmowers going all day long, because that's what these things sound like. And why do you want to have next to your property that you worked your life for? This power plant or this hydro ammonia plant, it has a blast radius. It's even in their own report. They even have it right here. Explosion and fire, page 190. Every single box is ticked off. Your insurance is going through the roof if you live next to this building that's making hydrogen and ammonia. That means no one's going to want to buy your property. Do you want to live next to a nuclear power plant or a hydrogen power plant or any power plant? I don't know. Probably not. So why does it have to be right here, right now in this area? That's the question. The question is not, do we not like green, are we conspiracy theorists, do we not like green energy? The question is, why are we tearing up Port-au-Port Peninsula to do it? That's the number one thing. There's so much land, there's hundreds, almost 200,000 acres of land here that's on this province, it's empty. There's a Muskrat Falls corridor that could be used. There's lots of land that's already internal land that could be used. Why does it have to be here? You telling me that the wind in the Cape is different than the wind in Corner Brook? Really though? It actually is? I want to see the science on that. I don't want to see one video that was on the internet for 1 or 2 days that they took off, and then somebody had to upload on an alternative website because it was removed from YouTube of Riesling talking about this. Let's actually get some real scientists, nonpartisan, not from them, to come in here and have a proper environmental assessment and get some explanations. I really want to thank Tony Wakeham and Goody Hutchings for not showing up today. Yeah, she just raised my profile. Thank you very much. NL United's here. We actually showed up. You know, they flew a bunch of people from the different local service districts, and from some of the Halapu people had gone up to Halaman County in Hamilton, Ontario, right? Near Hamilton. So this is where I want to kind of open up the perspective for people who are jobs, jobs, jobs. I'm a libertarian. I want open market. I want jobs. I want less government, less red tape. Let's have jobs. I'm all about that. But not at the expense of our children's future, not at the expense of our homes. So, jobs. It's a reciprocating situation, right? This is not like, oh, you do a job for me for free. I'm paying you to do the work. I need you to do the work. Okay, so where are the jobs coming from? It's not thank you for giving me a job, sir. It's not like that anymore. It's a two-way street, right? So who's going to get the jobs? Well, from what we've seen, it looks like they've been speaking to Penacon, and apparently some emails have gone out to the United Association of Pipe Fitters and Metal Workers. John Hogan was messaging someone named Sam Blanchard about that. So they're already making deals to union members. And the union members are talking to us about this. So we know what's going on. These jobs aren't here. This is camp work. It's flown in. So there might be some jobs. I want to see, as a political representative, my idea here is I want to see it in writing. How many jobs? Who's getting the jobs? How are they getting trained? And how much money? That's just the jobs part of it. Just telling me I can get 2 guys driving a truck and holding a sign by the road up by the bridge. That's a job. Good enough, pay minimum wage. There you go. I fulfilled my oral contract to you. That's not good enough. I've owned a labor company up in Ontario for 16 years. And every time that I had to do a job, I knew exactly, right down to about 10% of the manpower, what we were going to be able to pull off. I wouldn't come in and quote a job for $50,000 and halfway through say, oops, I missed up my math, needs another 50. Because I know I wouldn't get the job again. So how come they should know, if they're professionals, approximately what's really going on with the local jobs. So that's the first question for jobs we got to get answered. We also got to get an answer about what's going on with the local communities, because like I said, Halaman Community County up near Hamilton, they're getting $15 million over 20 years, and that's not including taxes, and that's not including what they're paying the private landowners. That's just $15 million they're giving them extra on top of the taxes. They should be given $2 million to Stephenville, $2 million to Port East, $3 million to the Cape, $2 million to mainland. How come what's that price tag? It hasn't been set. Why haven't we opened up to bidding to get other contractors in here? I call it the stupid gullible Newfie syndrome. SGNS. We do it all the time. Just like we do in Muskrat's Falls. Sounds so good to be true. We're going to have lots of jobs. Everyone's going to work really happy. Everything's going to be wonderful. And then what happens? Projects behind, government bails them out, and the jobs get all shipped off somewhere else. And we're, oh well, now we got 500 wind turbines here, half of them don't work. That's what the reality of the situation is. It's got to be written in writing. We have to play hardball with these people so we can get the proper investment. So that the investment goes back to people. If you lose your property, you lose your home value, but you got enough money to retire on for that because there was too many windmills close to you, okay. Great, maybe you as a property owner are ready for that deal. But the problem is that they think they can just march in here and take over and not give us any time to even have the debate. And that's when the red flags start going off. Like you've heard earlier, there's no transparency. So what I want to see is transparency, an environmental assessment. And I want to know why we're not looking at, why don't we get the same deal as everywhere else? USA Today, 2020 article I read yesterday, farmers are getting between $3,000 and $7,000 per windmill on their property. Yes, it's Crown land. Okay, we understand that. But are they offering anybody $7,000 per windmill if it's close to your house? No. Why? Stupid Newfie gullible syndrome, which is letting them walk over us for the promise of something false. Again, we can't be pushed around like that. And what about green energy? You know none of this energy is being used locally. They're shipping it in a hydrogen plant to Stevemill and then turning it into some ammonia gas. I don't know the science behind it, but I know that it's volatile. And then they're shipping that all the way to Germany. That's a lot of oil in a tanker to go all the way to Germany. Look up how many cars you can fuel with the gas it takes and oil it takes to send a tanker to Germany. But in Saint-Guinary, in Quebec, they got windmill projects powering 60,000 homes. So if they came out and said to you, we're going to lower your energy bill. Yes, your property taxes go up. Yes, your property value goes down. But you're going to have cheaper energy bills. And it's going to be made here in Newfoundland, Labrador. Why hasn't that been spoken about? No, if anything, your energy is going to end up going up. Because when the windmills can't produce what was promised, because we got a bad day, they're going to have to pull it from the grid. There's no extra energy going back to us. So it's not coming back to us in the energy. It's not coming back to us in terms of actual fiscal investment. It's coming as tax incentives, maybe. Okay, there's some money. That's good. Props on that. And the jobs are a maybe thing. And at what expense? 46% of this peninsula has been scoped out. There's not going to be anything left to it. This is the end of the Port Peninsula as you know it. And it'll be a different landscape altogether. And I don't know about you, but I don't want that in my backyard. I don't want that here. If they want to do it, let's have a conversation and ship it somewhere else and make sure Newfoundland finally starts to get what we deserve, which is first pick of the litter here first. We need to stand on our own 2 feet. So like to closing remarks, that's all I got to say about it. There's one more thing, and that was that there was a court ruling in Toulouse, France. I just noticed him in 2021, for last fall. A couple there, Belgian nationals, were awarded $128,000 in damages for health problems caused by windmills. This was a judge court of law in court in France, because they actually proved they had health problems from these windmills, which were they were just above 700 meters from their house. And we know some of these windmills are going to be between the 700 meter range and some of your homes. So if a court in France has given these people 128,000 euros, there was some science behind it. So a lot of questions need to be answered before they put them in our backyard. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Darrell. Next will be Marlene Cashin and Shelley Jesso.
Hi, my name is Shelley Jesso. I'm from Sheaves Cove. I'm 46 years old. I've lived in Sheaves Cove all my life. Well, most of my life. I lived in Alberta 10 years, and then I moved back in 2008, and then shortly thereafter became the vice chair of the local service district. Before I moved back home, I lived in Fort McMurray, Alberta, land of the oil. Seen a lot of projects, Some good, some bad. The thing is, when you mine a resource, there's always a sacrifice that you have to make. It's the expectation that a company works with the local people if they're going to take that resource. People can work together. This project, I'll be quite honest with you, I'm totally against it. Okay? Everybody has their opinion. I value every opinion. I'm the vice principal at Piccadilly High School, so when you teach high school kids in one class, you have about 600 opinions in a day. Okay, so I was going to read some of Marlene Cashin's letter. I will do that shortly. I just want to paint a picture. Marilyn and I, and a lot of our members have been doing the same thing. Sheaves Cove has a lot of elderly people, retired people. A lot of people probably have only grade 8 education. So all the stuff that's on Facebook, what's Facebook to them? Most of them don't even know what Facebook is, okay? We went down and we talked to our elderly people. They didn't know what we were talking about. So we sat and we talked with them about, have you heard about this? I heard somebody say at the food center something, but they never paid any attention to it. So we had a chat with, our elderly people, and there's a lot of concerns. There was a lot of swearing, but there was a lot of concerns too. So, let me paint a picture to you for somebody that's probably, let's say, 70 years old. They've grown up here all their lives. They have beautiful hidden falls. They have the mountains. They go in, they cut a bit of wood in the winter, for their winter. They go pick berries. Raspberries are starting to ripe now. That's the big thing around Sheaves Cove, right? Raspberries are ripening now. Go get your raspberries. I got my moose license for Area 43. So I go every year with my dad and my Uncle Dennis, and we scout them out here in our mountains, Area 43. If these turbines are placed up in our Area 43 here, do you think we're going to see those moose? Do you think we're going to be planning our Saturday morning hunting trips and how we can hide our smells and everything else so the moose won't smell us as we go to hunt them? Do you think the rabbits are going to be, well, actually the rabbits now are so plentiful, they actually come in my driveway at 6 a.m. every morning and look at me until they chase them. That won't be a thing anymore. Berry picking won't be a thing anymore. Everything back here will be destroyed. I'm all about, I guess, green energy to an extent. But it doesn't make sense to me. And I had an 80-year-old woman say this, green energy. She said, I don't know much about it, but it doesn't make sense to cut down all the trees and destroy the forests, call that green energy, and put up a big pad of cement with a wind turbine on it. That doesn't really sound like green energy to me. And I said, you're right. We're trying to reduce our carbon footprint. That's not helping it. And like I said, what's in it for us? What are we getting out of this project? Nothing. Let's be honest, we're not getting anything out of this. The rich are going to get richer and the poor are going to get poorer. Okay? In retrospect, I always tell Marilyn, I wish we would have protested Muskrat Falls. I wish we would have done that, because I was looking at my light bill last night around 10 to 12. I have a life, right? I was looking at my light bill and I was like, what has Muskrat Falls done for me? So I looked at my light bill. And when you get your light bill from Newfoundland Power, it tells you this year's reading, how much kilowatts you had compared to last year and everything else. So anyway, this year, this month, I used less energy than I did last year. But I'm paying double this year for the energy that I used. I'm paying twice the amount this year, and I'm like, how did Muskrat Falls help us? Really, how did it? The boys at Nalcor did good. And all their buddies did well with it. What did we get out of it? And I think the turbines are going to be the same way. And I pity the men that wish they wouldn't have to go to Alberta and they could stay home with their families and go to work every evening. And you know, that would be the dream. But that's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. You think they're going to give, we're going to get a couple of shitty jobs, I'll call it. The jobs that the boys don't want to do, us locals will do those jobs. Okay? And I can tell you, we're not going to be getting overtime and double time and triple time for it. We'll get enough to get our stamps, like that's what all the newfies want, like they say, right? We'll give you enough to give you your stamps, and we'll call it a day, and you should be grateful that that's what we're giving you. But it's not. When I first started dating my boyfriend, he had on a shirt. It says, the #1 antidepressant is nature.
Yeah.
It's true. I teach high school kids. We finish school at the end of June. In June, I'm not fit to look at. I'll be honest. And they say, and the parents tell me, oh, you're so lucky you get the summers off. And I said, guys, it's mandatory stress leave. We need to go at the end of June, or somebody's going out the window. So whenever we are stressed, and a lot of my students are doing it, my daughter and her friends do it, they go for hikes up the mountain. They go on quads. They were on their quads all day. They got off work early today. They were on the quads, the dirt bike, the side-by-side. We go up the mountains. We take pictures of flowers. We hike. We pick berries. We do all of that. What's going to happen if all those turbines are put there? For anybody right now, and it's a concern, for the people that have to actually cut their firewood. Firewood on the peninsula right now is scarce enough as it is. A lot of people are buying their wood right now from Tom Thistle, Tony Gill, all those boys. You have to wait until probably September by the time they get to you because there's such a big demand. If they come in and destroy the rest of our forest, guess what? We're all buying firewood. Now, there's a demand for it. Guess what? The firewood that you're now paying, what, $185 I think a cord is right now, which is going up a bit more because of fuel. Guess what? You're now going to pay $300, $400, $500 a cord because there's a demand and they have the product and we can't get the product from anywhere else except them. So guess what? Everybody's cold. So that's the reality of it. And I'm not going to point fingers and blame anybody, but as a leader, when our communities come to us, say they're concerned, Marilyn and I have no problem speaking out for our community members. And you can call us what you want in your heads or whatever else, that's fine. But we fight for our community. I'm very disappointed at our other leaders who are not doing the same. I'm Kalapu. I'm Indigenous. I'm proud to be Indigenous. And coming back to the peninsula was the greatest thing I could have done. I'll never be a city girl again, ever. Don't let this dress fool you. When I'm out of this building, hairs in a ponytail, sunglasses in the head, tomboy's out. I think we need to forget about the apple that these men, these businessmen, these companies are waving in front of us. And I think we need to be very realistic. There's nothing in it for us. And you know, I'm not against progress, but I am against the cost that it would be for this project. I think there's lots of places they could put turbines if they really need to supply to Germany, because we're not getting shit out of this. let's be honest, what are we getting? Our land is getting destroyed, it's getting ravaged. The animals are actually scared now. Helicopters have been flying over our homes. I think Marilyn and I's house, I think we're marked. I've taken pictures of them taking pictures of us, and I've stood in the field and whatever and watched. I think our houses they're watching us probably, because we have big mouths, I don't know, but they're not going to shut us up. I think everybody really needs to be vocal. You don't have to go on Facebook and fight with your neighbor. That's not what I mean. Just talk to people in your community and educate them, because really a lot of people are not on Facebook. We've educated everybody that we can, and if they have their opinion, that's fine. And for the people that think, they're going to have a ton of work and they're going to be, like Alberta rich kind of thing, and it's not happening. Let's be realistic. And when this project fails, right, which it will, it will, and then everything is destroyed around here, what do we do then? Oh, well, we didn't know, this was a new thing, we tried it, and now you can clean up the mess. And that's what'll happen. Let's be realistic. I'm a realist. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. And I think everyone, if you aren't sure yet and you're on the fence, educate yourselves, okay? Not everything out there is accurate, but educate yourselves, go into the woods, look around and say, okay, turbine, 654 feet, is that what it is? 654 feet, it's pretty big. How is this going to affect this spot? Okay? Right now, for some of us, our water is already affected by the blasting that's been done at Lower Cove Mines. Let's do some more blasting, and let's put some more bases and whatever else. Do you think that's going to help? So we're going to have to get wood, then we're probably going to have to get water shipped in. What else are we going to have to get?
He wants us out of here, that's what he wants.
Yeah. They do. They'll never get me out of here. And there's a lot of you here that they will never get out, and that's why we're here tonight. And I'm hoping our leaders will speak up, okay? And if they won't, we will. And I'm hoping that the government, when they make their decision, and they're on their boat having drinks and having the chat that they're probably having right now, I hope they really think about, this is not going to be an easy feat for them if it goes ahead. They're going to work for it. So I was supposed to read Marlene Cashin's letter, and basically I put it in my own words, okay? I'm one of those people that kind of wings it, okay? But if anyone would like to read the letter that Marlene Cashin wrote, please let me know. I can email it to you, or you can look at my paper copy up here, okay? Good luck to everyone. Thank you for attending.
Thank you very much, Shelley. I just want to piggyback on what Shelley mentioned about stress. Newfoundland and Quebec, majority of the population of soldiers in the military are from Newfoundland and Quebec. And a lot of us were in conflicts. And in 2010, I retired from the military, and I had gone to Bosnia in 1994. That's when the Serbs were blowing up the Croatians. So when I got back over the years, I had PTSD. I come to Newfoundland 5 to 6 months out of a year just to de-stress. Now, just think about it. You know, that's my only salvation, my only out. And you got a windmill where I live there down in mainland on the mountain and swing it. It's just like listening to a generator on exercises. It doesn't work, right? But anyway, there are a lot of soldiers who've come home to retire, and a lot of soldiers have severe PTSD. We need a social conscience also to look at this, right? Okay, I'll leave it at that. Again, Marlene, thank you very much. Next up, Tiffany Young.
Hi everyone, I'm Tiffany. I'm just going to read a write-up that a local resident did when she took a trip to Ontario. So this was her feedback. They went on Monday, July the 25th. So she said the trip's purpose was to visit an operational wind farm and ask questions about it. The questioning and discussions was mostly objective. At no point did any group members express their feelings or opinions regarding if a wind farm on the Port Peninsula was right. We were broken up into two groups and flown to Hamilton, Ontario by two separate private jets. Both groups then met up and were all boarded up on a bus together. The bus took us out to lunch for wraps, sandwiches, fruit and veggies, buffet style at a restaurant. Next, we went to the Renewable wind farm, when we met up with a worker who was also a professional wind tech. He showed us the computer program where we could each see the wind turbines operating remotely. The system allowed the operators to monitor and function, as well as know how much electricity was being produced at a given time. This site had 67 turbines, 150 meters tall, 45-meter blade length. The site had 7 workers for those 67 turbines. I asked how many wind techs are usually needed. He told me the rule of thumb in wind tech school is 1 tech per 12 turbines. But this varies depending on the turbine size and spacing. The company said that they had started with 12 workers, but cut back to a total of 7 workers. They also hire groups like rope techs and electricians if needed for short-term employment contracts. They generally service wind turbines once a year. We were then taken to a turbine site, and the wind tech tour guide brought us within 150 meters of a turbine. I can personally hear it, but it wasn't very loud at the distance we were. The closer you get, the louder it is, comparable to a clothes washer at a distance, or maybe a lawnmower directly underneath. In this case, the land around the turbine was still being farmed right up to the turbine base. These turbines are on a flat, developed farmland with cables buried, with only 17 kilometers of transmission line above ground. In this project being proposed at the Port Peninsula, the cables are planned to be above ground with the possibility exception of the Port East. Another difference is the much larger turbines and the extensive undeveloped mountains and valleys. Next, we went back to talk to residents and the mayor. I was disappointed that only 1 resident was there, since I was hoping to get more answers. She, the 1 resident, owned the land the company was building on, the discussion problems they had, and some solutions. Shadow flickering was experienced by 1 homeowner. This was addressed by the company turning off certain turbines for certain periods of time during the day. In this case, the navigation lights on the top of the turbine, their workaround was to place cones below the light to only direct light above and not below. The mayor talked about Community Vibrancy Fund, with which the company agreed to make an annual contribution for 20 years. And the mayor told us that there was many complaints and issues raised when the project was proposed, but they received little to no complaints about the turbines once they were up and running. The mayor told us about his distaste for the 17 kilometers of transmission lines, but that he did not mind the turbines. On the plane, I asked the company rep if Crown lands would be opened up again. They claimed that once the turbines were up, the only land that they want is the land the turbine is on, and the rest will go back to Crown land. I also asked about cabins. They are aware of cabins in the area and want to look into making a deal with cabin owners. I'm not sure if that would be a plan to buy them out or move turbines further from the cabins if someone don't want to move from their cabin or be bought out. Obviously, these are only claims and solutions proposed by word of mouth, and if this project indeed go ahead, specific plans will have to be set out in writing. As far as composure and overall sense of how others were feeling, it's hard to say. It was a civil trip in hope to gain answers to questions which would be redundant to this project if it was to go through. Each delegate was sent to represent their respective communities and as such remain as objective as possible in order to do that. In the event that the project is built, we would each have a better position to bargain for our communities of the peninsula. In short, the representatives kept their cards close to their chest and were not vocal about their support or opposition of this project on this trip. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Tiffany. Next, we have a PowerPoint presentation by Nadine Martin and Deborah. Come up and give us what...
Did you put the lights out on that side? Did that? Is that? Are you using the mic?
Take it out. You can take it in your hand, I think. Oh no, it's corded. They have a wireless one around here somewhere.
Yes. Do you want the wireless one?
Yeah, I think.
Yeah.
Where's your pointer?
Before we begin, I just want to let you know that all the context that we took for this PowerPoint presentation is directly from the proposal. So everything that we have brought together,
John Hogan.
and John, what's his name?
Hogan, I guess.
Hogan, yes, and
His
we
Facebook page.
and we got some stuff from his Facebook page as well. So this is what we come up with tonight. So right now you're going to see a picture up here. It's actually a Photoshop of the mountain, and this is what the turbines would look up on Mainland Road, and there you would see that would be the height. Well, we're not exactly, but that's how it's going to look if this project goes ahead. So this is giving you an indication of how the wind turbines are going to be on the road going across the hills, and I'm sure there's going to be many more. So without further ado, we're going to continue on.
Is it? Okay.
Yep, okay.
So this is the map of the turbine placement and the location of the transformer stations and the hydro corridor. This was in this is the map from the company project proposal, and we also included this in the flyer. This is 164 turbines, and each dot is a turbine placement, and they're placing them in rows. The red outline, the company has applied for almost 50% of the land mass of the Port-au-Port Peninsula, and their application or their intent to Crown Lands is for 33,000 acres, I believe it is. And the outline, you see the lines sort of around the dots, that's the package of Crown land they've applied for. So it's I think it's 13 packages, 13. And the green line is the high-powered transmission corridor. And we saw one photograph from the company, and the towers are significant. They're not poles. They're towers. And as you can see from the location and the intensity and how close it comes to certain villages.
We're here at the Cape, and there's one right here.
Yeah, and
That's in our watershed area.
yeah, you'll see there's one planned for the Bout de Cap Park, or in that vicinity, and so that's a protected wilderness protected wilderness area.
And then there's one just going up the mountain road, and there's one at Cape St. George, just north of Cape St. George, and that's within the protected water area. And I think a number of turbines throughout the peninsula are in protected water areas. So that's and of course, what you can't really see there yet, and we've told that there isn't a road plan available, but all the turbines are going to be linked via a road, and then they have access roads, and of course, corridors cleared for the high power lines, corridors.
We have 2 substations here, it's going to be one here, one there, and there's also one going to be...
Yeah, there's one right there at the Isthmus there.
Yeah, there's one on
side that too.
and then there's going to be one on the Kippen side as well. Yeah. So.
What's the next one?
Yeah.
So before she starts here, we prepared a flyer that we sent out to all the communities, and we took that expense on ourselves, and we just provided a summary of the big points that was in the proposal of the numbers and the information that she's going to present to you now.
So the project here includes 164 wind turbine windmills all over the peninsula with a height of up to 654 feet. Now you're going to think about the Parliament building onto St. John's Hill. Well, that's higher than our Parliament building.
Half the size.
Half the size.
Half the size.
The blades will be up to 515 feet across. And you can please see the map on the reverse side of the pamphlet. And that's what we just looked at. They're going to use 230 kilometers of dirt roads with ditches, high voltage power lines, and 3 power substations, which we just showed you. Can you imagine now, we go to Stephenville back and forth every day, and we have 55 kilometers that we have to travel from Cape St. George. Can you imagine how many trips that would make 230 kilometers of dirt road in the back? So we have 2 trips.
2 round trips.
2 round trips. That's going to actually take up that amount of road in the back of our country.
And during construction, those are going to be jammed end to end, both ways, so you're not going to be able to move cars through here for 2 years.
Yeah. So we have the Crown land application for 33,433 acres of land on the peninsula. That's about 40%. 40% of all the land on the peninsula. Each turbine will require up to 6.17 acres of land cleared. Can you imagine? So, given that we have 40% of the peninsula is going to be taking over for this project. So that gives you a rough idea where we're living to right now, and this is in our backyard. We don't have very much land between our homes, and it's going to be up on that mountain with all these windmills. Okay, the electricity generated by the wind turbines will be used to power their hydrogen plant in Stephenville. They want to sell the hydrogen to countries in Europe in the form of ammonia. Okay, so the company plans to put turbines in sensitive areas, including the limestone barrens and watersheds of some of our towns, some towns. Our town here, up on the, up by Big Ponds, it's supposed to be an environmental protected area. We have gannets there, and we do have rare plants, the Mackenzie, sweet veg. So there is a lot of protected areas up there, and you know, if they're thinking they're going to take our wild rare plant flowers and put them into containers and transplant them, take them off our rock, the barren, which is only on the limestone. So what do you think is going to happen to all our rare species of plants? So all that is gone. So it's going to be a lot of devastation as well. Okay, so we have the watersheds, all the explosions that's going to be happening when they're trying to put the base of the turbines into our rock of our mountain. They're going to have to explode in order to put the base down in order to hold that turbine up. So you can imagine what effect that's going to be on our watershed.
we have little trickles of streams and veins that come from these barren lands, which where our water comes from. So can you imagine once that explosion starts, because they have to put a base down, that how it's going to affect our water? I don't think that's going to be very good for us.
It's 164 of these bases.
And 164. Thanks for pointing that out. So this is not only one, they're wanting 164. So residents have voiced concerns relating to noise, shadow flicker, and vibrations. And let me tell you a little bit about the vibrations. In their proposal, they stated that they were going to have, that they did not need a meter for vibrations, that will calculate and analyze the vibrations coming from the wind turbine. We're going to have 164 of those vibrating, and they're not even going to consider a meter to test the vibrations. Can you imagine the effect that's going to be on the birds and all those sounds that the people don't hear, the animals do? And that will affect the wildlife, and they will not be living in this area, and they have nowhere to go. So what's going to happen to all the wildlife? And that's a great concern. Okay, so we got the substations and the threat to endanger plants, wildlife, moose, eagles, bird strikes, turbine fires, which, by the way, they're going to have their own fire department ready available in case that there is going to be some fires. Impact of construction on roads, property values, water pollution, and the impact of ancestral lands, and traditional hunting grounds. Very big concern. This is the regional economic benefits. This came from John Hogan's Facebook page. So we don't have much information on this because this is what he posted up. So if you have any questions or concerns, you can contact him. And this is what he put up. Economic incentives, tax revenues, regional and provincial, taxes through project revenue, example income tax, regional tax, property tax, increased tax revenue from additional revenue earned by local companies. So like I said, we don't have a lot of information. You can contact him. Local incentives, benefits agreements with First Nation, Halapu First Nation, Renewable Energy Training Academy, local community support for various improvement initiatives, significant increase in economic activity, attracting highly skilled immigrants. This is right from his Facebook page. So think about our local jobs. Positively impacting every area of the provincial economic with a massive impact on the local region. Significant construction, employment, and long-term high-quality job creation.
Okay. Focusing on jobs, the company says they will have 50 permanent jobs in Stephenville at the plant and 50 jobs on the peninsula. They will need 1,100 temporary construction workers. Construction of the turbines should take approximately 2 years to complete. The company has said that along with any jobs, the project will pay tax to the towns in the peninsula. And that was stated at our meeting that we had with Mr. Risley and his company, and we have no further confirmation as to how that will manifest itself. This is the employment chart from the package that they submitted, and as you can see, it shows the employment numbers, direct construction employment. So we are Site A. So they've said 400 construction jobs, direct construction jobs, and then afterwards would be operation and maintenance of Site A, which would be the turbines, so that says 50 employees. And then they have figures for indirect employment, which they've said 1,100 indirect jobs. We're not sure how that was calculated or who they're identifying as being indirect benefactors. And right below that package, and we raised this with the company at their presentation because they have really focused on hiring locally, and yet they plan to build temporary workforce accommodations in Stephenville that will house 600 workers. And we've asked them, well, what's that all about? And they have indicated that the workers that will arrive at this site, what does it say there?
Workers, rotational schedule.
Yeah, okay, and also just to let you know too, and in the research that we've done with other wind turbine projects, is that the contract, the employment contract sort of says they will work 6 days a week, possibly 7 days a week, and possibly rotational two shifts. And what we found out with almost all the projects is that they work 24/7 through the whole project. So you can imagine how the peninsula with the lighting and the trucks and the noise and the blasting and just whatever, a full construction project all through the night.
2 years.
Yeah, 2 years worth. And then they make the statement here, once they have the temporary workforce accommodations prepared, the workers will travel, well, they're going to arrive at the site either by car or airplane, they have said, and then they're going to bus the workers from Stephenville onto the Port-au-Port Peninsula because of the traffic issues on the local road. It says roads, but... And then there's an interesting statement on the last paragraph here that we've it says workforce planning and temporary accommodations will be developed in consultation with local planners to reduce adverse impacts associated with the introduction of non-local workers on the local communities. So we'll just leave it at that. Okay, so now we're into, this is what, and this looks like it's been put into rock, but this is the base of the turbine. And we don't really have a scale, but this is the rebar, and this is how they start the base off, and then that rebar is filled with concrete. And I understand how many, it's a massive amount of concrete.
They're typically 50 feet across and 16 feet deep.
Okay, thank you.
For that size.
That's pretty big.
It's massive. And this is what this is what we have. This is from their package, this photograph. And we're not sure if it represents the base for a 650-foot tower, because what we're finding in our research and what we show you is that the towers are much smaller. And then there's also wind turbines that are sort of urban turbines. They're not, they don't put a 650-foot industrial turbine in southern Ontario, for example, and in a residential area. There's major issues with what's coated. They use ground stabilizers like various chemicals. This is supposed to be a graphene or some strange chemicals, and there's been all kinds of leaching problems with these wind farms from how they build these bases. So you can see the size and the depth. We tried to find photographs to show you it was very difficult actually to find wind turbine projects that were on a mountaintop and where there's been clear cutting. But this is sort of gives you an example of how they connect the roads, and then they make, they clear the area for the base and for the staging. Because they need a massive amount of space for the components and for the blades, but they also use cranes which have a huge turning radius. And that's how they are planning to bring. That's a turbine blade, and they use these trucks that are all-in self-drive, and that's how they bring them into the community. And we did some calculation here because we all know we only have one road. There's 164 turbines, so there's... Pardon? Okay, so there's three blades per turbine. So if we've got 164 turbines, I think we calculated 492 trips like that to get just to get the blades up, and then that doesn't include the towers and the rebar and the cement truck, you know, just, anyway, we just thought we'd show you that this is, and I'm originally from, I moved here from Eastern Ontario. And I lived out in the rural area where I had a proposed wind farm was going to be 6 kilometers from me, but that was canceled. But I had another wind farm about 30 kilometers from me in farm fields. But when I went to go to town one day, one of these had blocked the highway, and I couldn't get to town because they had driven across Ontario and they got stuck at a railway bridge, and they just got stuck. So anyway, that's okay. So what we did is we tried to put a few videos together to sort of give you an idea of how things look. And the first thing I wanted to talk to you about is we're showing you what wind turbines look like in the dark. And you'll see they're all lit up, okay? And they're going to be lit up here. They have to be lit up because we're on a flight path. And they put red lights on them, and they also have a white LED light on them, and they flash 24/7, and they flash synchronized. So you're going to see that all over the dark mountain, and the villages that are dark. We have dark sky up here.
Do we know how far they are from the road here?
No, this is a highway in the United States. Like we were just trying to show that there's going to be lights on every tower, and they flash constantly.
We have them a kilometer from our house.
Yeah, and so not only is there light flicker, which I'm going to explain to you, there's also light flicker from the red lights at night. Oh, wait, so this is what's called light flicker. And the definition of that, it's the shadows that are cast by the wind turbines when the sun shines through them. So if the sun is behind the wind turbine, if the turbine's between east and west, this is what happens to your home when the sun shines.
This is what mainland and that side will be.
Yeah, there's certain communities will be subject to this. Okay? It's just to show you, and we have a second video that's and I think, is there sound? Okay, this one you're going to start a little later.
Pardon?
Okay. Yeah, we're going to start at
Okay, what number?
135 mark.
I can't get it though, it doesn't tell me what it is.
Yeah. Right
There we
there.
go. Oh, jeez, what a luck.
And
That was luck.
this man is sitting in his kitchen being interviewed, and he has an epileptic son, but I just wanted to show you just what his house looks like. And you'll see where the turbine is outside his property. But I mean, after you watch this, it's very annoying because and this is the light flicker. And a previous speaker had said there was a complaint, and they said they would turn the turbines off when the sun's shining, but they can't do that with 164 turbines. Yeah, we need sound on this.
Yeah, I can come here with the mic because I don't have a high-tech computer here.
Still on mute.
Yeah,
Second hour, let's go.
It's coming.
Oh, God.
But the picture tells a lot of oh, I beg your pardon.
Where is my speaker here?
Even without.
Yeah, I can't get the message second hour.
Yeah.
Sorry.
You can
I think the look on his face is enough to know.
Yeah.
He's not a happy man.
I just wanted to show you, if you fast forward, you can see his son's bedroom, who's epileptic, and the light flicker in his son's bedroom is even worse than this.
In all fairness, we didn't have weeks and weeks to prepare.
It's all right. Skip over the next one.
Okay. Anyway, just to show.
Oh, you're going to show his bedroom? Yeah, there's the turbine. You see in his backyard, and this is it flicking into his, because the sun's on the other side of the is between his house.
Okay.
There.
I think we've got the message now.
Okay. There's a couple of other important videos.
There's another video.
Yeah. Okay, this video is, and we don't need sound on this one, and I'm assuming this is what oh, there's the sound now. This is to show you the scope and the size of workers that work on these turbines, and but also to show you how dirty the turbines are. The turbines are actually big jet engines without the. This is all gear oil and lubricant and stuff that's leaked out of the turbine, and we could start this at the 2-minute mark if you. And this is just to show you. Okay, these men are inside the turbine, and they're just about to. Exit at the top of the turbine, and you're going to see how they clean the blades. And this is all, you'll see how much leakage there is. And apparently these turbines hold at least 200 liters of lubricants and gear oil, and so what they do is they clean them. And they clean them with probably a very strong degreaser, but the point is that all these oils and the cleaners all go into the ground. But we were sort of discussing, or we're curious as to whether this is wind turbine maintenance. Is this the job? And is this what people locally would be trained to do? Okay. And it gives you, and these turbines are, I believe, are not 600 feet. They're less in size than that, but it's to give you a scope of how big they are. That turbine, by the way, has a ladder to climb up it, but most of the modern and very large turbines all have elevators. But you see, this is degreaser and everything. They keep the turbines clean for wind resistance. But look at the size of the. Yeah. Anyway, that's the end of that one. Now I have a couple 30-second videos here just to show you, and these are from Hamilton, where they took the tour last week. And this needs sound. Can we get sound on that?
I don't know if it's loud enough.
Okay.
But years ago.
This is exactly the same wind turbine project that our councillors went to. Anyway, there's a distinct whining sound and motor sound. Just to give you an idea, there's lots and lots of recordings on YouTube about sound issues and light flicker and how close they are to homes. The very next video we have, and it was the same area where they took the group, and this is an abandoned home in Haldimand County. It was a retirement dream, and the person that was building it abandoned it. And yeah, you'll see in a minute. Okay. And interesting about the project, that the councillors and mayors, when they went to Haldimand, they went to see a turbine on the very north part of the project, which is in farmers' fields, but down closer to Lake Erie, the turbines are much denser and they're very close to the houses. Okay.
If you want to have any information, it'll be up on our ETC webpage that we have on Facebook. So if you'd like to see more of the information, it will be posted up there. Thank you. I have a letter here from Michael Burinsky. He is a biologist, and I have a letter here from him. I'm not going to read it because it's really long, but he studied in Parks Canada for 33 years. So I have a letter here, and he wrote to Fury. So if anybody would like to read it, I will put it up also on the ETC website, because it's a long one and we're running out of time here now. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Nadine and Deborah. Now I want to introduce a very special guy, our guest speaker, and I would like to welcome the Honorable Chief Brendan Mitchell. Sir, would like you to come up.
Sure, thank you very much. If you don't mind, I'll pull away from the podium so I can see you better. I'm almost not tall enough to stand back there, Bert. Anyway, good evening, everyone. I'm really pleased to be here, and thank you, Kevin, for the invitation you gave me to come tonight. This is the first opportunity I've had, by the way, to hear from people in the community. I was expecting more people to tell you the truth, but hey, you're here, and you're passing on some pretty strong opinions on this project. Thank you to those who spoke already on this issue, and I really did like some of the videos. I know, though, that the conversation being had is about placement of turbines a kilometer from anybody's property, but I certainly saw enough to have a view that there are concerns that people have. I'm just hoping, though, that other people in other communities on the Port au Port Peninsula are having these same opportunities as you're having to be together to talk about their views and feelings. And I like the frankness of the conversation tonight, and I have no problem also with hearing and feeling your emotions. This is a difficult project in many respects for people here and for people throughout the province, really. Newfoundland is the last frontier with respect to wind energy. It's in every other province in the country. I did hear recently, though, a gentleman was in my office told me there were wind towers in Buren. I've never seen them. And there was a test project, I believe, at one point in Ramia. But I have seen these in other provinces. In Nova Scotia, when I go to visit Indigenous Services Canada, there's a whole bunch of them on a marsh right near that office, and I did see them there. For me, I like the idea of green energy. I like the idea of moving away from fossil fuels, but I'm a contradiction, though, and I'll tell you why. Because I drive a car that burns gasoline, and my house is fueled by furnace oil. I'm not away from that just yet. And I think we're a long way in this province and in this country and in this world to move away entirely from fossil fuels. This was an opportunity for our province to be involved. And I just saw an interview recently done, or an announcement made by Minister Andrew Parsons and Minister Bernie Davis about how the province is going to open up and Crown lands will become available to people who want to get invested in wind energy. But there are impacts, and I've heard them tonight. I'm so glad I came because I never had a chance to hear from people. I did receive 6 emails. One of them I received from Nadine. And it was very well written, and it had some key points. The same issues that I heard again here tonight. And I'm glad to be able to hear about that. Just a comment on the letter, if I may. Someone said here a couple of times, Halibu wrote a letter in support of wind energy. Halibu wrote a letter on the principle of wind energy and supporting what it would do for our province in terms of our contribution, not only in the country but worldwide, to get rid of fossil fuels. Truthfully, that letter was written on the basis of an offshore on-the-water wind energy project. I went to a meeting about a month ago. Jason Benoit was there, Chief Jason.
Yeah, you're there now.
And another bunch of people who were there representing Indigenous communities. Their leadership was there. These what I call local community bands. I was really surprised when the announcement was made that the project had changed from an offshore on the water project to an on the land project. And turbines were anticipated for your community here at Port au Port, Stephenville, and the Lewis Hills and Wilmington Mountains.
Well, why did you withdraw your support when you knew it was on the land?
We're having a conversation, if I may, about that. Thank you very much. But anyway, it's important for us to have a conversation about this project. And when that was announced in that meeting in Stephenville, people were shocked, really. Jason Benoit spoke up and said, what's this going to do to us in Port au Port? Chief Charlie White from Stephenville, Indian Band, he was outraged that someone would consider putting these turbines on the Lewis Hills and the Wilmington Mountains. Just for your information, the Lewis Hills is expected to be a UNESCO heritage site. Why would we put turbines there? Your reasons for not supporting this project are valid. There's no question about that. And I'm not sure if this project is even going to go ahead, really. The environmental assessment or environmental impact study will go ahead. I've recently written a letter to the province, to the Premier and others saying, we demand, not we're requesting, we're demanding that this project get a full-scale, full-blown, detailed environmental assessment. That will mean, thank you, It will mean an opportunity for you in this community and for others in the communities on Port au Port to have a say in what's going to happen. That process will not be quick. I know that the group, World Energy, would like to make a short run at that and get it done kind of quickly. That will not happen for them. It will not. That environmental assessment will look at a lot of things. Look at your water, your plants, your communities. All creatures, impacts on the two-leggeds and the four-leggeds, and the flyers and the crawlers and the swimmers. Everything will get looked at. So if anybody thinks they're trying to rush this project, I can tell you this, that the environmental impact assessment will slow this thing down to a pace where people need to be involved and people need to hear, people in government particularly, need to hear the views of the people of your community in Sheaves Cove and all of the communities on the Port au Port Peninsula. I'll ask you this, has anybody contacted Minister Hogan, Bernie Davis, or Andrew Parsons to get them to come to your community and meet with you? Have you done that?
Yes, we have.
And what was the response?
No response. No response.
All right.
Automatic response saying thank you for sending your letters. That's it.
Okay.
That's all you get.
Well, I'll speak to those guys. And they will not have a choice but to listen to me. I'll talk to them and tell them to get out to Sheaves Cove and meet the people. Hear from the people directly as to how this is being impacted. I'll ask you, how many members of Halloween First Nation are here? Okay, nice few.
I'm not, but I can represent my daughter who is.
We have 6,300 members of Halloween on this peninsula. Second largest ward next to Corner Brook among all of our ward communities. That's a lot of people. I'm here to hear the voices of the people of Halloween First Nation. But I'm also interested in the views of regular or other community members. Indigenous, yes, and non-Indigenous. This is a significant project. This is a big project. If you don't want this, you have to stand in unity with your other communities and have a say in this project. And this is what needs to be done. If you're, I'm sorry? I'm looking for consensus, of course. And we need to hear it from other communities that may be involved in this. Because I'm hearing a little different story from some communities. I'm hearing that some communities are supporting this project. And we need to talk to those people to find out why. And see who's involved in saying yes to this project. And of course, hearing of who's saying no about this project. That has to be done. I know time is short and you're just getting organized now. You have a committee formed, I believe. But you have to take this work out to other communities in Port au Port. It can't be just about you here. Because maybe someone will say one day, well, we won't put towers in your community, but we'll do it everywhere else. You know,
there is representation from other communities here on the peninsula. This is not only Sheaves Cove here now.
Lords, mainland, Three Rock.
great, I'm so glad to hear that. Thank you for clarifying that. So I just don't know who's here. One at a time, please. Go ahead.
The committee is formed and we have 24 members here tonight. And we are all a part of Port au Port. This is not only one area in Sheaves Cove. So we're all here. This is the building that we chose here because we are volunteers and we have to get the information out to the people. And our committee here is all from areas of Port au Port.
Great, thank you for that clarification.
Thank you.
I'm also glad to see some young people here. I see a young lady right there by the pole as I look at to my right, and others. And gentleman here with the blonde hair. Nice to see you, thank you. And these are good things to be fighting for. You have to decide collectively that if you don't like this project, it is not for you and your community or your communities, you have to stand together. Great, thank you. Halloween First Nation. Halloween First Nation will stand by its membership. We did the same thing when fracking was proposed here. People didn't want it. I spoke against fracking in a number of places. Made presentations to government on it, and stood with the people here against fracking. If people don't want this project, please speak up, stand up, speak up, say it loud.
We don't want it.
We don't want it.
Thank you. Thank you very much. That's an important message for me to take back home and ponder as I drive on your tricky roads as I head back to Cordoba tonight. I found it interesting when we were talking about all the equipment that has to be transported over your highways. My God, your roads are tough enough already, and I don't see many guardrails, I have to tell you the truth. And the roads are full of holes and potholes, and you know, it's a tough ride. But anyway, I'm here to hear from you, and I've heard it loud and clear tonight, that the people of your communities in Port-au-Port are not interested in wind energy in your area. I think I heard a number of you also say, though, that while you support energy that's green, you support wind energy, you don't want it in your community. Okay? That's right. All right. Well, thank you very much. There are other people who may want to speak tonight, and time is going, but again, I thank you for the opportunity to be here. Thank you, Kevin, for the invite. It's nice to hear people's perspective on this project. This is my first time. If there are other meetings in Port-au-Port like this, you may have one in Lourdes. You may have one in Piccadilly. I'll do my best to get out there and hear what people have to say in those communities also. So again, thank you tonight for coming out. I kind of felt when I came here the message would be tough and that you wouldn't want this project. And I accept that and understand that. But we'll see where it all goes. Again, have faith in the environmental assessment process. It will not be easy for this company to do this project. There's a lot of work to be done. It will be slowed down. They may not like that. And again, as I wrote my letter to government, I was supported in that letter also by Chief Mazel Joe from Conne River. It wasn't a request. It was a demand that a full-blown environmental assessment be done on this project. And I hear your concerns. I felt your concerns tonight. I saw the expression on your faces and emotion. So I thank you for giving me what I call an honest and respectful commentary on what this project means to you. Thank you very much, Will.
Yeah. Chief Mitchell, if I may just say a quick word there. Your words are powerful. They mean a lot to a lot of people. Way beyond just the Port-au-Port Peninsula, but the entire island. And thank you for coming down tonight. I'd like to read an email that I sent to you. You might not have had a chance to read because I'm sure you get lots of emails, so I'll read it out to you now. There comes a time when all leaders must stare at two paths and choose a difficult or easy path. The difficult path is not always the most popular one, and it can be very lonely. But there are moments that turn great men into legends, or show the true cowardice or bravery of his character. History does not award weak men the honor of preservation. Now is one of those times to stand up. Chief Mitchell, make the right decision and stand by it. Port-au-Port is not for sale.
Okay. Before we open the floor for questions, I have 3 more people. First of all, Chief Brendan Mitchell, thank you very much for coming in. Your words of wisdom, that's what it's all about. Would Chief Jason Benoit come up and say a few words?
How you doing? Working? Yeah. Okay.
Don't break the mic.
So, here I am, Chief of Benno First Nation, Port-au-Port Ward Councillor for Port-au-Port, not the spokesman for Halibu, but the representative for the region, and the spokesman for Benno First Nation. I'm getting people telling me they're against it. I'm getting people that are saying they're in favor of it. I'm trying to keep a balanced approach to what the people really want. Because, you know, if this project happens or not, it's not because of what I decided, right? It's not going to be me that's going to decide this project is going to happen or not. It's not going to be Chief Mitchell either. It'll be the government people that look at this assessment. But I've said it from day one. Like, I'm not worried about windmills. I'm worried about the damage and destruction that the roads will cause. When all these roads go around, open up all the hidden valleys and all that stuff. That was my concern from day one. It's still my concern. And I mentioned that. I've actually mentioned it right to John Risley himself, you know, and so, you know, for all the people that went to Ontario, I wasn't even on that committee that decided who was going to Ontario. I missed that meeting. So they decided, and I got a call, and I got invited, so I went with them. But I think all the mayors and the local service district representatives wanted to send a joint message out from what they found. And that message was supposed to be coming out today and tomorrow. It'll be on some websites, it'll be social media. I think some communities maybe even putting it in a flyer and mailing it out to people. I only posted my assessment of what I saw because I mentioned in a hell of a meeting and the word got out, so that's the reason I posted it. But I didn't want to jump before these other guys, before the rest of the committee actually put out their message, which is, I don't know if it's available now, but some communities are going to try to put it out today. But I think because of the civil holiday, you might not see it till tomorrow. I'm not sure. I think it was a very balanced approach. But I've seen it, I've looked at it, and I'm not going to speak on their behalf because I don't. You know, all I did was I saw, and I said what I saw. I mean, is that farm community, windmill farm, the same as here? Absolutely not. It's all flat farmland. These windmills were smaller than the ones we're putting here. They were closer to homes over there. But yeah, they look like a model community, absolutely. I said it the way I saw it. I said the truth. And if it doesn't fit with anybody's narrative, you know, that's tough. But I told the truth. I went up and I saw what I saw and I reported it. And if some people are taking me to task over it, it's their lives, they can say what they want. But you know, as long as they're respectful and reasonable, I love feedback. But when you start insulting me, putting me down, I'm done. I'm finished.
Your comments you made towards the people ravishing or doing harm to the roads and everything, like, I really thought that was quite insulting to everybody. It was like we were savages.
And the thing is, before you can put those wind towers in, you have to build the roads, right?
Yes,
so if my concerns are the roads, that's a big part of it.
Though, that you had said that once the roads are built and the local residents have access to these roads, what are we going to do as people who live here and reside here? You were worried about what we're going to do once we have access to
No, you misunderstood me. That's not what I was. That's not the point I was trying to make. And I'm not going to get in a pissing match with you or anybody else. What I was saying is the roads. These guys are putting in these roads. They're opening up areas, and that's my concern. That really is my concern. Now, how you interpret it is up to you. You can all interpret things the way you want. But I'm talking about the roads that they're putting in. And before they put the towers in, they're going to open everything up. And that was my concern. It's still my concern. And I think it's a legitimate concern. It really is. And as far as everything else, I support a full environmental assessment. Absolutely. If you think I'm the enemy, well,
Okay, Jason.
you're out. Because
Jason,
I'm not.
hi. I was at the meeting with the company up at the town council building at the Cape with Risley and McIsaac and the other guy, okay? And I mean, it was all new to me. I walked in there, I had no idea. My mind was blown to it of this project. And you were there, you sat at the back of the room, you never opened your mouth once.
Not true. Not true. That's a lie.
Well, maybe a little bit. Maybe a little comment.
I actually asked him the question about the roads.
That was it.
Nothing. To John Risley directly to himself.
Nothing else.
You guys should have recorded it.
And as part of it was recorded, but as part of Benoit First Nation representing Native people on this peninsula, those towers are going up in mountains that we have no idea what the effects are going to be as far as like the infrastructure, the what do you call it? The
Absolutely.
No, the vibrations is what I'm getting at.
Absolutely.
This is unprecedented. It's never happened in mountains before. This magnitude, and this has never happened in Canada before. But yet, you didn't ask the questions. You didn't represent the people, and you've been quiet. You've been quiet, and that's very disappointing. You have been.
If I may, I'd like to clarify here. I attended the meeting with Jason at Stephenville. when Mr. Risley and his group were there talking about this project, when they announced it was going to be a project on the land.
We were never invited to that meeting.
It wasn't for everybody. It was for all the
Exactly.
local, regional, or community band
Exactly,
chiefs.
that's what they do. They come in, they meet with the native people, and then from there, that's how a pattern works. Pattern,
Contract.
All right,
pattern
if I may
has a
say
pattern,
this, there's no
right?
need for each other to show over here to try to get a
saying, that's
message
the way it
across.
works.
What I'm
That's the
trying
way
to tell you was our
it's
meeting in Stephenville, Jason was very vocal about his concerns about what was happening with
Yeah.
respect to this
How do we know?
project
We weren't
in terms
there.
of access and environmental impacts on the roads
weren't
and
there.
lands and all this stuff. I was there.
Invited.
Thank you.
We don't represent the company. I'm born and raised here all my life. And I got a lot of questions. And we gotta ask you a lot of questions. And we gotta make sure these guys don't get away with anything.
Well, Jason, make sure your voice is heard for the indigenous people, that's the land. We just all got to do with land and our children come behind us. And you guys represent us, and make sure you guys do a nice job for us. Okay?
And I'm sorry, I never heard what you said.
Just do a good job for us, that's all. Yeah, that's right, represent the people of the land. Land is all about the indigenous people, the children come behind us.
Land protectors, not land destroyers.
Exactly.
See, I never did. I never supported destroying the land, I never did.
Just before you continue there, my question is to everybody that are here, that went on that trip. How does that wind farm compare to the terrain here? Is there any comparison to that? Because it seems to me like the narrative was directed by the company who was bringing you to a location that was the ideal, pristine location that has a wind farm that works perfectly. But here, it's not the same terrain at all. So, like I said, it was kind of one-sided. That it was. So, how anybody that was on that trip? We did hear the report from Crystal saying that she just gave what's there. But like I said, I don't hear anything saying that it's going to be. It wasn't on a mountaintop. It was on a flat land. They were being paid to have their windmills there. I mean, they're Crown land here, so I mean they have no ties to any of the communities because it's going to be Crown land that they're going to use.
It's a huge amount of differences.
Exactly. So it's kind of irrelevant. That trip was something that it was.
I wouldn't even argue with that.
It was a nice paid trip in a private jet to Ontario, but I mean, that didn't put any of my concerns to.
No, and I think the committee actually ended up leaving there with a lot more questions than they went with, to be honest with you. But again, I don't represent the committee, but they got a lot of questions, still have, still waiting for answers from.
Thank you.
This wasn't a group of people that supported the windmills that went up there. These were all people that had tough questions, even myself. So all of a sudden, I don't represent the company. Right? I live here all my life, like the rest of you guys. So, I mean, we have to make sure we hold them to everything that they promise, and whatever happens. If it doesn't happen, whatever happens, whether we get this side or not, we got to be on top of every promise, on top of every concern. We have to keep our voices heard. And if this environmental assessment takes a year, they need to hear every concern during that year from everybody who has a concern. I'm not arguing against any of that. I never did. This is going to happen. If they're going to come here, they're going to have to do the assessment. Right?
Hi, Jason.
Now you can put me down for this and for that.
We're not putting you down, and we thank you for coming.
Yes.
My only concern is that you have a lot of members in your Benmos First Nation, and I would like for you, as the chief of Benmos First Nation, be proud of Cape St. George and your Benmos First Nation, and contact your members and see how they feel about it. And if you need a vote to find out to see how the people are feeling, well, then you will give you a sense of direction. Because right now, I don't know if the band members are aware of all what's going on with this windmill project, and we are not feeling anything from you. And that's how I feel.
And that might have been an error on the part of that company. Really didn't do good PR with us at all from the start.
No, but we need to hear from you.
Well, for me,
we need to hear from Benmos First Nation. We need to hear you speak up for behalf of the Benmos First Nation and the members. We do care about our environment.
Absolutely.
You're caring about the roads, but we need to have our leader fight for us if we don't want this.
Yeah, well, okay, well then, you gotta remember,
You have to find out.
I'm hearing out, because I'm hearing just so many
Exactly.
people are saying they don't want it. So that's why I'm trying to,
Well, that's
not to
great.
be one way or the other, I'm just trying to see
Yeah.
what we need to do.
And we thank you for coming here tonight because this is just a start. I mean, a lot of people are not aware. And we are not out here to be fighting against the neighbors. We are here to try to get answers. And we're trying to work as a group and a community that love the Port Peninsula.
That's right.
And one last statement for me. Nobody loves this land more than I do.
Thank you, Chief Jason Glenmore.
Thanks, Jason.
We have to remember too one thing, right? It was a fast ball thrown at us. So, you know, and everybody's trying to work this out, and it's difficult. And but I think we're getting there. Before I call on Mr. Rose, I have one person, Dwight Cornack, that we didn't put him down. It's my fault. So, Dwight, will you come up and say a few little words, please?
Right.
Thank you all for coming. My name is Dwight Cornack. I'm a resident of the Port Peninsula, mainland in particular. I'm also a member of Halipu First Nation. My slant is more historical in perspective. And I want to go back to Newfoundland pre-Confederation. And I'd like to talk about J.R. Smallwood, God rest his soul, and the signing of the Terms of Union in which Newfoundland, after 3 rounds of voting, decided to become the 10th province of Canada. Now, this commentary is directed specifically at Halipu and at Benmore's First Nation and all Indigenous peoples of Newfoundland and Labrador. My question is simple. Why did the government of Newfoundland, at the time it was called the government of Newfoundland, Labrador was excluded, we are now called the province of Newfoundland and Labrador. The Canadian Indian Act was omitted from the Terms of Union. When we joined Canada, it was basically assumed that there were no Aboriginal or First Nations people in this province. How many of you are aware of this? Okay, some of you are, some of you aren't. Who is aware that the Conn River Band was only recognized circa 1984-1985 after many years of struggle because the government of Newfoundland at the time accepted to join Confederation and become a Canadian province and omit a federally entrenched document from our Constitution. This is a legal matter. This is not just a question of wind turbines. This is a question of transparency. We have to go back in history and correct past wrongs. I'm talking ad lib. I have notes here, and I inspire myself from that. How many of you are aware that the Conn River, I'm asking you right now, Conn River was recognized circa 1984-1985?
It's actually 1982, and they became a reserve in 1987.
Okay, excellent, thank you. How many of you are aware that the large, very large, Innu and Inuit populations of Labrador, all of their rights, zero, they got theirs after Conn River. Someone correct me if I am wrong. Can someone correct me? That the Innu and the Inuit of Labrador were recognized and their rights entrenched after Conn River.
Sounds about right.
Yeah, the rights of the Innu and the Inuit, who were part of a group called the Native Association of Newfoundland and Labrador, right up until the beginning of 1972. They broke away from the Federation of Newfoundland Indians to take up a land claim and get recognition for themselves. It happened in the early 1970s.
And when did they receive their rights under the Canadian Indian Act?
The rights would have been given to the Innu under the Indian Act. There's a different situation for Inuit people. There are different.
So circa 1970?
I'm not sure. I really
well,
don't know the history on that one.
Okay, I think this is a very important question that needs to be answered.
I can tell you in 1981, they still didn't have it.
I know. I've done my research. They did not.
If I may, thank you for other comments so far, but I'm here trying to understand the pertinence of the conversation of wind turbines and the impacts on your communities in light of this history.
Historical perspective, sir.
Okay.
Chief Mitchell. Historical perspective.
I think what Dwight's trying to say is...
No, please, Daryl. I wish to remind you that all offshore resources are a federal jurisdiction, not provincial. Therefore, I question the reasoning behind World Energy GH2. Do I have that right?
Yeah.
Inviting local service districts, no, they didn't invite local service districts, that's right, municipalities with boundaries, legal boundaries, to propose an offshore turbine development when it is beyond municipal jurisdiction. It is a federal jurisdiction. Bay du Nord was only approved a few months ago. A massive mega project for what is called the cleanest green oil on this planet. And it required the approval of the federal Minister of Environment, not provincial, federal. Therefore, my question directly to Halipu is, if it was stated that it was initially an offshore project, why did you not walk out the door and say this is beyond our jurisdiction? My next point. Halipu. I lived in Toronto at the time. I first became enrolled in Katamku. I got my card, still have it, proud of it, but it was not official. All good. So Halipu, our founding fathers entered in negotiations with the federal government because the Indian Act is a federal jurisdiction, is not provincial.
That's right.
So Halipu enters into negotiations with the federal government to be recognized. This is strictly a statement, no commentary required. Our founding fathers accepted the formation of Halipu as a landless band. That is factual, landless. You have no land. I have land as an individual citizen. Benoit's First Nation, do you have land?
Yes.
Okay, Halipu, my question to you is, do you have title to land?
We're a landless band, you just stated that.
Okay,
Yeah.
excellent.
Yeah.
Thank you. Therefore, again, I simply question Halipu's involvement and in consultation with a private consortium to develop a mega project at $2.7 billion, which is 3 times the size of Muskrat Falls. Muskrat Falls has, when it ever gets off its feet, will have a capacity of 820, bear with me. This is historical, it's important, and it must not be ignored. Muskrat Falls has a potential of 824 megawatts. Alone, the project proposed is 1 gigawatt, which is 1,000 watts, which is enough to power this entire province. Wow. And also export the excess to Nova Scotia. Because the 824 megawatt project at Muskrat Falls is going to replace Holyrood. Holyrood will be decommissioned. Oops. That's what they say. Newfoundland will be powered by Muskrat Falls. So that leaves us, and plus 30% goes to Emera in Nova Scotia for export. So, you do your math. We have 1 gigawatt, 1,000 watts. I'm sorry, is it 1,000 watts?
Megawatts.
1,000 megawatts. So, the peninsula could produce electricity for this entire province and have enough to export. Add on to that, Lewis Hills and Blow Me Down, another 1 gigawatt project. Add to that, Bay St. George South, a 1 gigawatt project. We are dealing here with what we are facing in our area. It's not just Port Port. This is the entire West Coast. We are dealing with a mega project that is 3.5, has the potential to produce 3.5 times more the electrical output of Muskrat Falls. Like, do the math. At a cost of $2.7 billion.
Just a correction, 12 billion. Muskrat Falls.
No, I'm talking about this local project.
12 billion.
Yeah.
12 billion.
Oh, this local one here is 12 billion.
The 3 projects and the hydrogen plant will be 12 billion.
Oh, awesome, great, more money. But the only quote that I've actually seen in all of my research is 2.7 billion.
That's for just the wind on the peninsula, correct?
That's great, and that should have been clearly stated in the reports. Because one could be led to believe that the 2.7 billion is for the entire project. But that is great, and this is what this whole dialogue is for, is to inform people. People, this is not a $2.7 billion mega project. This is actually a $12 billion mega project. And as we know with all mega projects, the original estimate, which is fine, the private taxpayer wants to, I'm sorry, the private companies want to invest $12 billion, do it. I will remind you, however, the Trudeau government in its fall fiscal update, or the fall economic update, let's call it budget update, I guess. I will tell you this. Do not be surprised if you hear that there will be incentives. I can tell the future.
There's 450 million already proposed from Trudeau.
Yeah. I teach. I'm a history teacher. Blah 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 blah. You learn from the past to understand the future. The Trudeau government will be allocating excess amount of dollars as tax write-offs to private companies who do develop so-called green energy. Now, I know a bit about consortiums. I'm not a businessman, but they operate with dummy corporations. Don't you think for 1 minute that the 4 companies that are listed are the only 4 companies involved. There are more than 4 companies involved in this process. Because these 4 companies that are sponsoring this, they have what you call numbered corporations. And do your research. One of them has clear links and ties to Mi'kmaq communities in the Atlantic provinces. I have done my research and I will stand by it, and if someone would like to talk to me in person afterwards, come and talk to me and I'll tell you my sources. Therefore, I'm sorry, I'm babbling, but I must. This is not just about now, this is about the past, the present, the future, blah. Of concern. I'm an avid news reader. I love the news. I love knowing stuff. I have consulted the HALIPU site, the official site, looking at minutes of meetings. I have seen no mention. Correct me if I am wrong, but there is no mention of consultation with World Energy H2O pre-June of consultation with this private developer. I'm sorry, HALIPU, this should have been mentioned in your minutes, which are in the public domain. I want to talk about Andrew Parsons for a second and his big spiel on CBC last week regarding the framework that'll be put in place for wind energy. It's in place for offshore oil. It is in place for mining. It is in place for hydro. So we'll have this big announcement now for wind. Great, speed it up. He also mentioned a social contract. You guys know what a social contract is? A social contract is get the people on your side, the ones in higher up positions, and create a semblance that people are for this. I will sum up very quickly. HALIPU has zero jurisdiction in Crown lands. I have a specific question for Chief Mitchell. Were you approached, Mr. Mitchell, by World Energy H2O for your cultural and community opinion upon initial or subsequent consultations with the company? Thank you for your time, and I'm sorry I babbled, but this is not just about now, folks. This is about the past, the present, the future. I wear orange for a reason today. I wore orange at the first meeting. It's subliminal in nature. If you get it, great. If you don't, fine. Thank you.
Yeah, just quickly if I may. HALIPU First Nation was involved in this project, kind of through the side door. We didn't even know about this project. We were approached by Mulberwick First Nation in Conn River to see if we were interested in partnering or investing in the purchase of Port Harmon. We didn't do it. We never had the money to do it. And there's not one dime to be invested in any equity position on the windmill project or the hydrogen facility. Truthfully, we don't have that kind of money. We're talking about a multi-billion-dollar project here. We don't have that much money in the bank, you know. And so this is how we got involved in some information sessions to hear about this project. I can assure you that World Energy was told by both the province and the federal government that if you're going to get involved in a project in Newfoundland and Labrador, you need to have some Indigenous involvement. We were invited to have a conversation here because of Conn River. They were involved in this project with World Energy before us, but they invited us to get involved. We had no way to get involved.
If they weren't even in the location?
Pardon me?
They're not even nearby. Why would they be chosen? Why?
They're chosen because they're an Indigenous organization.
So it is because of communal thinking, right?
I'm not sure what your comment is on communal thinking.
Well, this is our backyard.
Right?
It's not Conn River's.
Sure.
Exactly.
Maybe that's one reason, maybe that's one of the reasons why they pulled out of this
They
project.
consult with them,
So
they don't consult with you, and they don't consult with Con River, they consult with us.
I hope they will, they need to, really.
Con River has nothing to do with us, we weren't even recognized in the same manner, for many years, they looked down upon us. And now we're still being called into those meetings, so what are we to them? What are we to them?
Con River got involved in this project because there was a view that Con River may have had money to invest. Con River has pulled out of this project entirely.
So, okay, so it's been tossed on us, is what you're saying.
I'm not saying anything's been tossed on you.
Well, the environmental system's going ahead, and there's helicopters in the sky on a daily basis, you tell me.
I don't know about the helicopters, have you seen them?
So why was
That's
Con
wonderful.
River consulted before the communities here, before the actual individuals?
It's a good question. That's a question that we need to ask World Energy, and we need to ask the provincial government. Because I don't know the answer of why Con River was asked to get involved before Hullabaloo First Nation. I don't know the answer. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Before we open up the floor for questions, we have one last speaker. I'd like to introduce Mayor Tom Rose. Will you come up, please?
Mr. Moderator, thank you very much. To all the volunteers that formed this committee, I want to thank you for your time. I'd like to speak, I guess, on the project from my perspective as a community that's geared up to have a hydrogen plant. And we talked about the impact and what it means. I have a little drink of water here. Yeah, so a couple of things about myself. I'm born and raised in Stephenville. I'm a veteran, Royal Canadian Air Force. So I do respect your service and anybody here who is veterans. I'm also a big supporter of green energy. I live in an off-grid home. I have solar panels that provide energy into my home. I get a little dry. I had an operation on my neck years ago, so I do apologize for that. But I'd like to speak a little bit about the good, the bad, and the ugly. We all seen the Clint Eastwood movie. And with every industry, there's going to be the good, the bad, and the ugly. If we had a nuclear power plant that wanted to come to Port-au-Port, there's going to be the good, the bad, and the ugly. If you have an oil refinery who wanted to come to the Port-au-Port Peninsula and create jobs, you're going to have the good, the bad, and the ugly. So a couple of things I've heard tonight, I just like to touch on, and want to thank you very much for inviting me here. So in our community, our town council has publicly, at a public meeting, supported this project unanimously. We look at it, and in my background, I spent 2 years as an executive assistant in the Department of Environment provincially. I hold a master's in business. I understand multinationals. So I'm just going to see if I can pick up a couple of tidbits and speak on some of the issues that I heard, which were very, very important from yourselves. And thanks for inviting me to Sheaves Cove. You have a beautiful place here. But
won't be so beautiful after this.
yeah, so a couple of things, like I think we mentioned tourism. Well, I went on vacation to New Brunswick this year, and I went on vacation to Cape Breton this year, and I went on vacation to Alberta this year, and Saskatchewan, and wherever I went there were wind turbines. And you know, so I really don't think that wind turbines is going to stop people from coming to Newfoundland and Labrador. So in Port-au-Port, as you well know, you have a significant industry here, Lower Cove. And I'm very fortunate, I have a brother who works there. He used to work rotational worker, work away, and away from his family, but thanks to Port-au-Port and Lower Cove, he's working here and he's home with his family. So there are, like I say, the good and the bad and the ugly. So some people might look at a turbine and say it's ugly. I don't find them ugly personally. That's just, and we're all entitled to our opinion. Yeah. Well, you know, John Ridley wanted to put them. I've got some private property. If they wanted to put them in Stevenville, I'd be happy. But there's something I'd like just to say, like from a business perspective on investment, is all the wind DNA in the world is held in the Netherlands. They have worked with all environment departments in countries around the world. And here's a true statement. Why is this being looked at? Well, to take a $12 billion project, you got to have a lot of check boxes. This, you know, like I said earlier, this will be the largest private investment in the history of Atlantic Canada. So, what are the check boxes? Well, we have an international airport, we have an international port, so check box. We're Canada. So, as a veteran, I'm a veteran, we're a G7 nation, we're a democratic country. We're a very safe country thanks to our structure of government.
Don't feel democratic these days.
Yeah, well, not everything is democratic, but so a checkbox being in a very safe country is very important. But the biggest checkbox on this project, ladies and gentlemen, is this area, the Stevenville, Bay St. George region, has the best wind DNA in all of North America. Yeah. So if I could just also say this, that when investments are made into a machine like a wind turbine, well, it has to monetize. If you went to an area that had less winds, the project wouldn't be as viable as if you went to a project that had good winds. So, like, there's a lot of great winds in South America, for example. But South America is too far away from the EU.
I have a question.
Sure.
You said that it's far more feasible in certain areas that have more wind, obviously. I've been reading that if the wind turbines are set up on the offshore, it would produce 5 times the amount of energy than what would be put on land. Therefore, even from the private company's perspective, they can make 5 times the energy off of one offshore site, the size of what they're proposing for the Port-au-Port Peninsula, and instead they're going ahead with 3 land sites.
Yeah.
So in reality, they're cutting themselves short, and they're only going to produce 3 times the amount, which is 1x per site, versus they could just get all 5 out of the one site if they actually did it in the proper area in the first place.
Yeah, I'm not sure about those numbers, but I do know that wind offshore is a better wind because it's considered a laminate wind and it has less impacting. So, but I'm not the decision maker on this one. But a couple of things I want to say too. As you well know, most of you guys come to Stevenville for a lot of your services. We're a regional service center.
Catchment area of 25,000.
Yes, catchment. Thank you very much for that, sir. And you know, we've struggled in Stevenville with 2 major services: our hospital and our airport. What this project will do will actually be a game changer for our town. We anticipate. Well, just hold on now. Yeah. So there's going to be jobs created. I have a brother that lives in Stevenville, works in Port-au-Port. Somebody in Port-au-Port could work in Stevenville. It's not Alberta. But a couple of things I just want to say is that our hospital now will be much easier to hold its services. We anticipate that we will have maternity service brought back so people can have their children in Stevenville. We anticipate that the airlines...
Excuse me, sir. I have to ask, what is the health care, which is, I believe, federally funded, provincially controlled, correct?
Say again, please.
Healthcare is federally funded, provincially controlled.
Correct.
Could you please tell me why they are proposing that services would be returned if? So basically, they're dangling a carrot in front of your nose. They've already taken away these services for years.
No, they haven't.
And now they're promising to you that all these services will just magically reappear. And all across Canada right now, emergency rooms are being closed.
Yeah.
And you're thinking a bunch of windmills in our backyard here is going to solve your problem?
No, they never said that. Yeah, just for clarity, nobody told me that services is gonna get better in Steamboat. That's, no, they never told me. No, I'm saying, yeah, just for clarity.
Pie in the sky at this point.
Well-
Pie in the sky. These emergency problems are happening all
We
across
just-
Canada right now. Newfoundland was the first to have them, and now they're dangling something like this in front of your nose. Promise that these services are going to be
Nobody's
returned.
promised me
Face the
anything.
reality. It's never going to be
Yeah.
returned.
So we
Maybe start telling the
anticipate.
truth.
So we know with a new industry
But
coming
Western
in.
Health.
Would you show some respect and let me speak?
Yes,
Jason, you spent like really, honestly, I spent the past 2 years in Florida regaining my health because Western Healthcare left me for dead. My ovary was attached to my bowel and I lost 35 pounds to the starvation and calorie deficit. That's your service that you're providing right now, sir. It's useless. So stop promising to people what isn't and concentrate on what is and concentrate on fixing the damn problems that exist right now.
Well, that's what I'm saying. But my opening statement was, we have struggled with our hospital. Industry and jobs and economics will give you better service. We anticipate more, the airlines will reinstate the Steamboat so we don't have to drive to Deer Lakes. And that's very important. So in closing, I just want to say that, you know, for me, I think it's important for jobs. And when we talk about the hydrogen plant, it's going to go on the former Abitibi site. Right? And it's going to help our healthcare, it's going to help our airport. And for anybody who needs to go to a hospital, unfortunately for the young lady.
Go to Corner Brook, because it's better.
Corner Brook Mill needs you, don't worry about that.
Corner Brook Mill? So, you know, with every industry, I just want to say, you know, there's the good, the bad, and the ugly. So at the end of the day, the government, for the government to, if we have no industry and no jobs, we can't provide education for our schools, healthcare. Where does the money come from? We gotta have industry.
Excuse me.
Oh.
Right here.
Oh.
I got a question.
Sure.
You were comparing the wind company to Atlantic Minerals earlier. My husband's employed at Atlantic Minerals. He's been there for 16 years, okay? Recently, he had a letter in the mail from his union rep. He had to sign that letter asking the government to stop the wind energy project because he was being employed. He had other men there that's being employed. There's like 150 something men there employed, and they're feeding obviously their families. They're supporting your town.
Yes.
And what the wind energy company wants to do is come in and take over Atlantic Minerals' property, even property that they're mining on right now. And that was stated into the letter, and I have it on my phone. I can read it to you. And so they're saying that, you know, they're scared for the men's jobs in the area, and that they will probably not be able to expand any more than what they expand. They will not be able to continue mining in a safely manner. Obviously, they use explosives to do whatever they need to do. They would not be able to do that with the turbines as close to the mining area. So therefore, the men would not have work. And yes, I know mines may not be any better than the wind turbines, but they have been there 25 plus years before my husband started working there.
Yeah.
So it's already in progress, it's established, and it's feeding the Port-au-Port Bay St. George area. So why should a wind energy company come in and all these men lose their jobs? And where are they going to find the work to support their family? Because that's my bread and butter.
Yeah.
That's my neighbor's bread and butter. So the 50 jobs in Steamboat, the 50 jobs out here, is not going to compensate for the 150 jobs that we have here right now.
I didn't hear that, so thanks for letting me know.
Yes, and like I said, you want a copy of the letter? I have the letter. And it's a concern. It's a concern for me. I'm looking at, we live here in Sheaves Cove. We have a house here in Sheaves Cove that we own. Yes, we may be mortgage-free, but we still have bills to pay. You have your internet, we're living in the boonies. We have our internet, we have things we have to pay, insurances, high insurance rates. You know, water, garbage, whatever the case is. You know, it could be good money now, but if he loses that $30 an hour job, what do we do? What is our future? What is my neighbor's future?
Very good point. Thank you very much. So basically, I want to thank the moderator, the committee for inviting me. My role at council is try to move our community forward. As you well know, that's why we get elected, you know, to attract business. And normally, I always wish, you know, we can get industry and to get a green energy is really one of the things that we work on. We're signed up under this Partners of Climate Protection that everything we do in Stephenville has to have, we have to look at ways to mitigate carbon emissions to protect the environment. So we do a lot of solar energy in Stephenville now, and wind energy and hydrogen. And the big thing, you know, when we look at Canada, we're one of the top 7 performing nations in the world, G7. So Germany is also in the G7. So when you look at the political climate, the unsettling of Russia and the Ukraine, Russia wants the Ukraine for the resources, bottom line, and they're willing to kill people for it. That's so unfortunate.
Same with Grizzly.
So unfortunate. But now, Canada and this region got something very unique, and the wind is very, very, very unique. It's the best in North America. And they want to produce a product that produces 0 emissions. And if we talk about protecting the environment, you know, it's like there's the good, the bad, and the ugly. So what's the good? You know, it's a green product. The bad and the ugly is you don't want it, you know? And everybody got their choice, and everybody got their voice. But what you guys are doing so good is that you're raising the due diligence on this project. You're putting it in the limelight. You're making it public. So the people that are making this, I'm not making any decisions.
We're late to the party over here.
Chief is not making
You're not
decisions.
making the decisions, but we look up to our leaders. You guys are prominent members of the community. We look up to you guys and to make the decisions for us. What's right for us.
Yes, and we look at sometimes what's the greater good, you know? So jobs and green energy would be better.
I don't believe what's the greater good for us. I think what the greater good is for you in general.
But when we look at
If the tables were turned and you were Marilyn Rowe and she was the mayor and she was doing what you're doing up there now, and you'd see how she would feel if all the turbines were around here, and you and your community would be getting the benefits. Because that's what's happening.
Yeah. But we're not getting all the benefits.
Oh.
And you've got the mills, you've got not the mill, but
What's it?
Airport.
Port Harmony,
Port
yeah.
Harmony.
The airport.
You've got the airport.
Yeah.
What else do you
Yeah.
need?
Yeah, well, you know, we got an airport that doesn't fly planes right now. But anyways, I just want to thank you guys, and you do play a very, very critical role. And like I say, it wakes up politicians and leaders, and it heightens your due diligence. So thank you very much.
Excuse me, Tom. Tom, I got one question. I'd like to know what the windmills, what you keep talking about the airport. What is this windmill project going to do for the airport? You keep bringing up it's going to make the airport work, but it's going to bring back jobs at the airport. What does this project have to do with the airport?
Well, what it's going to do is going to increase cargo, corporate, and commercial passenger traffic. So the airport is being sold during the final weeks of transferring the deed to an aerospace deal. But the airport is going to have more flights. So I'm tired of flying out of Deer Lake. One time in the 80s, we were the #1 airport, and now we're nothing.
So
But 10 years from now, we'll be the #1 airport.
So because of the turbines creating energy to sell to another country, it's going to increase our airport's
big time.
usage.
Massive. I'm a former aviation air traffic controller. I know aviation, and It certainly will. That's my hope, sir.
I got one question, and this is for Chief Mitchell.
Thank you very much, sir.
I helped a lot of people in the community with their applications in order to become a founding member. And a lot of them were turned down on basis of the fact that they could not self-identify. Or, you know, their way of life. How did they keep their way of life up and so forth. Did they fish? Did they hunt? They had to have pictures. They had to have letters of people stating that, you know, they hunted, probably even a copy of their moose license or whatever the case is. So now, this wind energy company is coming in, and they're taking away our people's way of life. So how do you expect the Halifu members, the founding members, and people that want to be a founding member to prove that they have, that they still celebrate their way of life, that they keep their culture, if we can't even have our way of life anymore? If it's gone. And that's really sad, and that's disappointing.
If I may, I don't see that happening entirely, and if I may just make a clarification. Self-identification is never about having a moose license or catching a salmon. That was never part of the self-identification process, honestly. Self-identification became difficult for some people. People like me and maybe you signed an application before the band formed and saying, I identify as a Big Mount person. After the band formed, though, and benefits became known, people came out of the woodwork trying to become members of Halifu First Nation. There's a class action today called the Collins Class Action. 80,000 people believe that they should be members of Halifu First Nation. In addition to that 80,000 people trying to become members of our band, they also want government to give them a settlement of $500 million. It's never going to happen for them. So self-identification was never about, I had a moose license and I seen people with pictures of a moose, with a rifle on the rack.
But they were
It was never
requesting
about
this
that.
documentation.
Not that documentation, no.
They
They were
were
requesting that you had a connection to your community, that you traveled, you visited Newfoundland, and those types of things.
And still it was not enough. I had to, look, I helped people do their applications, and they were requested to send pictures, news clippings, anything they had to show that they attended powwows.
Participated culturally, yes. Yeah.
Anyway, whether they had fishing, anyway. And then now they're taking this away.
Nothing has been taken away.
Not yet.
Not yet. And based on what I heard here tonight, it's going to be difficult for anybody to take anything away from the people of Port in relation to this. And I told that today earlier, it's a tough slide for these people at World Energy and whoever else is involved. This is not a done deal. As I mentioned earlier, the environmental assessment will be thorough, will slow things down, give people a chance to have some conversation. And again, I'll say it, we need the ministers from the provincial perspective at least to come to your community and talk to you, hear your concerns, and feel your emotions. I'll help you with that. I'll try to get these people here in your community, and we'll do it right here in this place right here.
They'd be around.
Pardon me?
It's not voting time yet.
Well, maybe. But I think this is important enough. I have a conversation or a telephone conference call with the Premier every week. And when I get in my call with the Premier this week, and Lisa Dempster, the Minister of Indigenous Affairs and Reconciliation, I can tell you that our conversations tonight, what I'm hearing from the people of Port-au-Port, will be on the table in that meeting. And I know Chief Mazel Joe will support me in that also. Thank you. I'll be that. Thank you very much.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to have to close down the meeting. I'll pass it down to Darrell for closing remarks.
Thank you. Thanks, Kevin. This is only going to take 1 minute, guys. I know you're tired. Everybody probably wants to go home and be with their families. But, round of applause to the mayor and the chiefs for taking the time to come and answer some difficult questions. They did. They answered some difficult questions. And I feel like the committee really got, we really got some answers. And then thank you guys for coming out and for working hard on this. We've worked day and night on this. A lot of us have knocked on doors for days and days and days, and I'm just a small part of it. So, in closing, I'm going to say something from a political point of view that I think this man back here was just about addressed. They're only coming around every 4 years, these politicians. That time needs to end right now. Newfoundland and Labrador United is a new provincial political movement. And what we're trying to do is be on the ground every day. It's a shame Tony Wakeham's not here. It's a shame Goody Hutchings sent out a mailer last week and it never had nothing to do with the windmills. A shame, absolute shame. They say she's got her picture in the newspaper and nobody can get a hold of her, but it says call me anytime. Shame. This is your call. We'll have more views on this video than she's got on her Facebook page in a year. And she's still, alright. Here's the letter that I wrote to Bernard Davis, who's the minister in charge of making this decision by August 5th. And depending on what he decides, we might have to do another couple hundred of these because we're not stopping. And I think that every political person, regardless of your colors or your style or your party name, I think everybody should write a letter similar to this. This is what I believe in, and I think most of you will agree. Dear Bernard Davis, the following letter is regarding the proposed wind turbine project on the Port Peninsula, known as Project, I can't pronounce it, by World Energy GH2. With over 500 mega wind turbines slated for development, this project will directly affect and possibly destroy the wildlife and the way of life of residents in Lewis Hills, Blow-Me-Down Mountains, and Bay St. George South as well. It's huge. And as a resident of Stephenville, I'm concerned with the lack of transparency from World Energy GH2 and the expedited process in which their application was submitted. I visited their office in Stephenville Airport earlier this week, this is last week, and I waited and nobody was there. The citizens in the area, including myself, have formed a local grassroots volunteer-based committee called the Environmental Transparency Committee. There's flyers in the back with our email address on it. You can leave your address there and we'll reach out to you and keep this conversation going. No other political figure in this area seems to be doing anything, except for the gentleman that came here tonight, to get the voices of the citizens heard. So I should thank you partly, or at least NL United will be thanking the opportunity to serve the people. It's not just me, there's a group of us, there's over 100 of us right now involved in NL United. And we thank you for letting us serve the people on this very important issue. We are requesting full transparency from the government and John Risley on World Energy GH2. This means every single resident is given a chance to have requested information provided, which provides the exact environmental and economic impact in the region. There's people here who don't have internet access. We need time to do this, okay? There's elderly people who've spent their lives here. They need time to be consulted. We need that time. And while I do appreciate the idea of more jobs and economic prosperity, and I really like the price tag, it sounds like a lot of money, Tom, I'm interested, but hey, economic prosperity has a lot of questions that have gone unanswered and proper processes that have appeared to have gone unchecked. So talk is cheap. We're requesting evidence of long-term environmental impact and economic promises that are going to be in writing so that the informed decision can be made by the people in these communities affected. We will not be backing down on our position, and we are requesting you to pause this project until a full, transparent environmental assessment is properly conducted and my concerns raised in this letter are publicly addressed. Sincerely, Daryl Shelley, leader of NL United, Port Peninsula is not for sale. Thanks again, everybody.
Thanks to everyone for coming out. Does anyone have any questions?
Yes, hello, you do. We have parking after post.